Yudhishthira is now all set to perform the Rajasuya Yajna. Now, this is a yajna or a sacrifice that is not to be taken lightly because only once in a generation does a king find himself deserving enough to perform it. So, based on Narada's advice, when they had gotten ready for this, Vyasa now comes and says, after the elimination of Jarasandha, you are finally ready, but you still need a lot of money. You need a lot of tributes to be collected from multiple kings from across the world. It serves two purposes. One, if they are willingly giving you the tribute, that means they are ready to work with you to crown you and accept you as the Chakravarti Samrat or the emperor. However, if they are not willing to give you money happily, what you have to do now is to go and conquer them and collect the money or tribute by force. Vyasa suggests a strategy. He says, let the four brothers other than the king go in four directions and win everyone who comes in that direction. This is the so-called Digvijaya Parva, in which Arjuna goes to the north direction. This is where fewer human kings live and many more celestial beings and gods are stationed. Arjuna is uniquely qualified to perform this act of conquest. Now, Bhima is to be sent to the east to conquer all the kings on that side, Sahadeva to the south, and Nakula to west. An interesting thing that happens is that Arjuna is on his way defeating kings and gods and Gandharvas and everyone, and when he reaches Bhagadatta, Bhagadatta says, while I can fight and probably defeat you, I would rather that a friendly relationship is maintained between you and me, and therefore you tell me what you want and I'll contribute that much to you. Another interesting thing that happens to Sahadeva is that he ends up getting into a fight with Agni, the god of fire. Long story, which will not be recited here, but it's an interesting incident that happens during the Digvijaya. Now, eventually, the four brothers, Arjuna, Bhima, Nakula, and Sahadeva, all win the directions, collect a ton of tribute. Some kings have given it happily, some have given it with a little bit of anger, the others have fought and lost and therefore have given it. One way or the other, they've conquered everyone and brought back a ton of tributes. Now, Yudhishthira is all set to perform the Rajasuya Yajna. He brings in the best Brahmanas from all around, the people who have experience in creating 6 fires to perform the Rajasuya Yajna. Remember, this is a yajna that is not performed more than once a century or so. So, very few people are actually experienced in doing it. With the setup for the yajna ready, all the kings, whether they were conquered or were willing to accept Yudhishthira as the emperor in a friendly manner, they are all sent invitations, and when they come, they bring in more gifts and more tributes and even more contributions to the effort of the war. The 6 fires that are lit to perform this yajna are called Arambhaniya, Kshatra, Dhriti, Vyushti, Dviratra, Dashapeya. Kings from all around the world are excited. The yajna goes perfectly well. And once the yajna is done, they had to identify one person who was deserving of what is called the first honor or the Pratham Samman. Obviously, Bhishma is chosen because he is the eldest and the most important person in the Kuru dynasty at the moment. He is to receive the phala or the fruits of this yajna. But when Bhishma is offered it, instead, he says that one even more deserving than me exists, and that is Krishna. Now, a lot of people obviously welcome this because Krishna is well respected in many places. However, a group of kings led by one specific person feel a bit insulted. A cowherd being treated as bigger than Bhishma? This was not acceptable. So they conspire together to insult and demean both Krishna and Yudhishthira. What happens next? That's a story for another day. Okay, so when a Rajasuya Yajna is performed, people have to bring 1,000 of something. 1,000 of anything, actually. Depending on how rich you are, depending on how willing you are, depending on how much you respect the sovereignty or the suzerainty of the to be emperor, you are supposed to bring 1,000. A sahastra is what makes it a tribute. Now, you could bring cows, you could bring sacks of grains, you could bring horses, you could bring elephants, you could bring gold, gold coins, you could bring servants who will be part of the new king's household. You could bring chariots. You could bring chariots that had 4 horses on them, or you could bring those which had 8 horses on them. You could bring chariots that had horses which had gold necklaces in their neck and the reins made of silver. You could bring swords or arrows or bows or maces or many other kinds of weapons like javelins. You could bring silk. You could gift artisans, the people who will work to create even more things for the king. You could bring pots of ghee to contribute to the actual yagna. You could bring firewood. You could bring fire itself. The point was, it does not matter what you bring 1,000 of them.